Okay, I think I'm going live. Hi, everybody. I'm just making sure bear with me on the tech side. I'm going live in Instagram as well. There we go. Okay. So, um, hi, everybody. Dr. Rick Tamlin here, author, a Hay House author of Play Your Bigger Game. Not that the time matters, but I will tell you this is Wednesday, May 15th, about 8:12 California time. So, here's what I'm little backstory, and I'll make it really brief. First of all, I need to get better glasses. Their reflection isn't good, so I know there might be feedback about that. But anyway, I wanted to share with in my world and on my social world and people who follow me. I am going to the next level of, first of all, going out a little bit more into the world, and I want to talk about where this sort of desire came from. First of all, I'm learning a lot about tech and how to do it, how to touch more platforms at the same time and be in front of more people at the same time. And you know what inspired me to do this? And I watched it happen last week, and I'm going to do a big shout out to Oprah. So Oprah last week on Thursday had a show. That was virtual. It was all virtual. It was on YouTube, and it was a lot of various places to do it. But it was a 3-hour brilliant conversation about the topic of, body and weight and Ozempic and that whole controversial topic, right? I'm not going to talk about that. That's not my topic today. But I watched that, and I watched the entire 3 hours live, and it was one of the most riveting pieces of television I've ever seen, and it was YouTube, right? So I know my beautiful producer right now, Jocelyn Flowers, just texted me and said you can hear my husband sneezing. So sorry for the background noise. Anyway, I'll get to the point. I was so riveted by this show, and what she said brilliantly, which I'm going to get to here, I promise, is she had all these different guests on, right? Beautifully produced, an amazing experience, live audience, virtual audience, people from overseas, just probably tens of thousands of people, of course, at Oprah, right? And I watched it, and I was motivated and inspired by the conversation she created. And she even literally said that many, many times. I'm not here to tell people what to do or not to do. I'm going to have a lot of different voices on here, and we're going to have a lot of people from the audience talk. We're going to have people talk from the virtual audience. She said, what I want to create is a conversation, and then for people to decide what's best for them. And she literally said these words: this is a conversation today. This is a conversation. This is not a training. This is not a teaching. There's some information that's going to come through. But by the way, if you're joining, do a quick hello in the comments, and because there's going to be some Q&A time here after a few moments when I set the context of what this is about. But I was so moved by the idea that she was there to create a conversation. And this is Oprah I'm talking about, if you just joined. And again, brilliantly produced. She's magical at the ability to interview somebody, all that, like her ability to do that. So putting that aside, but I wanted to share this idea today that, and it is a pretty simplistic concept, but profound if you really get it, that conversations design everything in our life. Like when you go behind the curtain of your life, if you look at, and you can go down the list, if you look at your financial life, if you look at your relationship life, if you look at your body life, if you look at your fun life, whatever context your life, any angle of the life you look at, like I come out of the life coaching world, and there's a life wheel, right? And you go around this wheel and you sort of evaluate how things are going. But the simple yet profound concept is that all those circumstances are being designed by the conversation that I'm having about it. So, and very simply, think about it this way. There's two, and I like to add this third layer to this. There's 3 conversations that are designing I'm going to talk for me, that are designing my life right now. I don't want to talk for you, but I just want you to consider this. So the first conversation that we're having is the conversation that goes on in here about my life, my money life, my business life, my relationship life, my fun life, my family relationship, like every aspect of my life is being influenced. Of course, if you follow me, this is not rocket science. This is the mindset thing. But I wanted to open it up and have it be a different word rather than it's just mindset. It's like, what's the conversation I'm having? And how many times am I having it? And then I start to repeat myself. And by the way, it's either, supporting me, serving me, not serving me. Then I have an anxious moment, and we know the dance of that, right? And I'll layer this with, and please, let's be super gentle and compassionate to that conversation, because the second layer of the conversation is judging myself that I'm having that conversation, right? So that's the first conversation. That's designing your life. So when you look at your life, and I've been doing a lot of metaphysical training over the last 5 years of my life, and I'm in the land of quantum physics. I'm going behind the curtain. I'm not going to go into all that training today or teaching, but there's a whole fascinating world about, as you probably know, that the conversation we're having, the energy we're giving off, is designing everything in my life, like every aspect of my life. And if you look into the world issues, those conversations, whether they're having them or not, is designing the situation. You could look at war, it sounds so simplistic, and it could almost feel disrespectful. I don't mean it to, because, but if you go behind the curtain, you realize, oh, we need to have a better conversation here. And what I love about how Oprah did it is she said, this is a controversial topic. I'm going to go towards it, and we need to have a conversation about it. And then everybody gets to decide how to be with the issue or the topic at hand, right? So first conversation, this, right? What's going on here, right? If you come out of the coaching world or anything in the professional or personal development space, this is not new news, right? If you're a coach in any way, shape, or form, you are helping people be more responsible, more intentional, more conscious of this conversation. Now, let me go to the second conversation. The second conversation is the conversation you're having with other people. What's the conversation I'm having with my family members? What's the conversation I'm having with my husband? What's the conversation I'm having with my neighbor? What's the conversation I'm fill in the blank, right? That's having a huge impact on my existence, right? And again, somewhat simplistic, but when I peel back the onion and I go to, okay, I keep talking to people about this, or I keep complaining about this, and then I look for people to complain with, or I look for people to collude with. This is why I think it's profound to be in a mastermind group or to be in a group, because that conversation that goes on there, its intentionality, is I'm a holder of a group of folks and a creator of a mastermind group over a year. We have about 24 clients. Is my job is to activate and animate and elevate the conversation, be with people in what's happening, and then activate and elevate it. And then they have conversations with each other about it. This conversation goes better. But it's like, what are you talking about into the world? Now, of course, let's just get really pragmatic at a dinner party or a networking event. Okay, great. It's small talk. We get the small talk thing. But let me just go there for a second. I have a friend of mine, and he's very civic oriented. He's very leadership oriented. He's retired, lives here in the desert. Excuse me, I'm going to cough a second. I start to get talky. I've been to events with him. He does a lot of events. He goes to a lot of events, a lot of fundraisers, very civic oriented, lots of boards. And when he walks into a room, I actually watch him have a different type of a conversation. It's just not it's a hello and a connection moment. But then he elevates the conversation. He does this like magically. He elevates the conversation to what's possible, to what's next, to what can we do to make this better. It's a constant of how he talks to people at these events. And of course, people are somewhat mesmerized, somewhat taken by that. I call it leadership at a networking event. He's daring to point the room in a direction, point a person in a direction of what could be better. Right. And then of course he gets phone calls afterwards and, can you be on our board? And oh my gosh, could you run the next? Now, ironically, he's getting a lot of work out of it. He doesn't need the work, but I'm mesmerized by that ability, right? To actually move the conversation forward with what's possible, what's better, what does it look like? And he's in that conversation. He's just not sharing information. And that's a big distinction, right? So that's the, level, first level of conversation. This one, second level is, what are the conversations you're having with other people? Now, in our world, we know there's a lot of, we're gritchy with each other, and there's a lot of reactionary energy, and we're voting at each other, and there's a lot of that going on. And it all comes down to, what's the relationship I want with people? Because if I'm all twisted by something that's been happening in my family or in my life or my marriage or whatever, then I step into, I want a relationship with this person. I want more intimacy with this person. I want more connection with this person. Then I actually need to elevate and move the conversation forward responsibly. I hope that makes sense. It's a conscious choice to have a elevated conversation. Let's call it that. So, okay, the third conversation, and this one's a little bit softer, a little bit like less detaily, or less it's harder to get your hands around it. But this is the conversation with your higher self, with your spiritual self, with I'm going to use some metaphysics or quantum physics jargon, with the energetic field, right? There's always an energy in the universe. There's always a, right? And it's, what is that conversation you're having about, in that space? What's that conversation you're having with this space? That sounds a little bit like, what does that actually mean? I'll just give you an example, right? I go for morning. This is for many of you, this. This is the meditative space, maybe, or this is where you go for a morning walk and you be with nature, and you start to realize, when I'm in nature, I feel better. That's a type of a conversation. You're having a relationship, right? And not saying anybody needs to have a spiritual practice or anything like that. I'm not here to say that, but that's a third level of a conversation. And so wanted to just chat with you about that. If you have a question or a comment, you can put it in the comment section, and I'll be able to see it here in this remarkable technology, by the way, called StreamYard, which is having me learn the art of, being able to have a broader impact, hopefully, and elevate the conversation, be more conscious of the conversation in today's quote unquote, I don't want to call this a teaching, but like a Wednesday wisdom thing. So my goal, by the way, sidebar moment, is to do this every Wednesday about 8:00-ish West Coast time, and I'm gonna do it consistently. And I want to. So if you have a comment or a question, throw it in there. No worries. I'll go back later if you watch this later, and I'll comment if you have something to add to it, or some insight or some awareness. Because what I'd love to do in the social media world, is get better at, because I'm watching it happen and I need to get better at it, is, and I watched Oprah do it last week, right? There were tens of thousands of people chatting about this conversation, which elevated via information, but then it became inspiration, and then it actually elevated the conversation. Because that's, I think, our job as thought leaders. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about on that flip chart you see over my shoulder here. I just want to name, if you're in the professional development or personal development world, or if you follow me, I love this acronym of stepping in and being a bright star in the world, right? With your good work. Star meaning you got a job to do. You actually have to. You've just signed up for, I want to change or impact the conversation. And here's how you do that. And the metaphor, sorry, not the acronym of STAR: speaker, teacher, author, revealer, right? Speaking, here I am on a Facebook Live or on Instagram or on YouTube using this remarkable technology. I'm daring to put my voice into the space on a Wednesday morning, right? You'll either watch live or you watch later, or you'll never watch, or lots of, who knows, right? But I'm daring to speak my something into the world to move it forward, right? Teacher is the second context, right? Being a teacher, are you training? Are you teaching something? Are you doing a class, right? And then author is, are you writing, right? I dared to write a book a number of years ago, did pretty well, got me in a lot of rooms. Love the philosophy. I get a lot of feedback still these days, like, hey, I want to play a bigger game. And then people ask what that means. And then R in this context means revealer. And what that means is you're a coach, because a coach actually helps people reveal the truth of who they are, what they want to be all about. It's a very, the coaching conversation is reveals for people and has them understand themselves better and take more responsibility with the life they want. So there it is. Happy Wednesday. Just wanted to offer this, and I hope this serves. And if you're a trainer or a teacher or a coach or an author in any context, feel free to go borrow this somewhat simple concept. But I don't know anybody out there right now who's talking about life as being designed by conversation. Don't know anybody who's actually doing that. So there you go. Happy Wednesday, everybody, and good enough. I'll be very transparent in my head. I'll probably get better at this, get to the point. However, I'm not going to get all caught in the perfectionism, and I need to have it all perfectly planned out. I'm an improv-oriented guy. I took improv classes for years, so I come up with an idea and I let myself improv. And I know there's a lot of feedback in the world. You need to be succinct and really quick, and sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. And you'll watch what you want to watch. And what I want for you, if you're in the transformational space, and I assume many of you are, because if you're a follower of me, then you probably are on some level. I just want to offer one final thought. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you try to reframe it or spin it, it's always vulnerable. Thank you, Brene Brown. It's always vulnerable. Right now, I can feel my own inner life kind of go, does this make sense? Does anybody care? Will anybody watch? That is a part of the deal. And but I'm not going to let that shut me down. I'm not going to let that inner voice, that conversation, like, does anybody watching? Does anybody care? That voice will not win, because okay, this is the link. I just gotta figured it out, because I'm up to playing a bigger game. And in my language, a bigger game player doesn't let that voice get in my way. But I will thank Brene Brown publicly for that concept, because it had me understand, oh, I get it. It's all vulnerable. It's always going to be vulnerable. Speaking, writing, authoring, I put my book into the world, right? As soon as you put it on a bookshelf, the world either buys it or they don't, and it does well or it doesn't. But if I didn't put it out there, that's the point. That's the point I'll leave you with is, when I get to the end of my life, God willing, it's, 103 years old. I want to look back and go, yeah, I went for it. And I put everything I had into the world that I wanted to put into the world. And I gave it my best shot. And I showed up as many places as possible. And I spoke and wrote and trained and taught and coached and mentored as many people as possible, to have them, and you in this context, if you're listening, to have you experience your wisdom, your insights, your thing that you need to put in the world. Because I do believe we are here to put something into the world. We're here to create something. We're not just here to exist. So happy Friday, everybody. Sending you all peace, ease, love, health, and wealth to you, your family, your organizations, your teams, your state, our country, and of course, to our globe. So thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Bye.